Meanwhile, over in France. No offensives. This could just be Germany trying to conserve equipment to then go after Russia. 2 Sicilies going after British shipping. That's a lot of convoys they're catching. With a very, very small screen. But they are losing submarines because these are ancient. And we know that the British destroyers are actually kitted out for anti-submarine warfare. They're lacking sonar, which is a really questionable decision, seeing as everyone clearly loves submarines. That seems like a really obvious thing. Research sonar, it's 1 research slot. And then refit your ships in the pre-war period. Unless it's the Kaiserreich bug where you can't refit ships, which I have also seen. 2 Sicilies real MVP of the game. 2 Sicilies, like, in terms of AI... So when we do the favourite player at the end, shall we add 2 Sicilies to that list? I don't know if we should. As Helson is saying earlier, my bias is showing through. Oh, I'm seeing a naval invasion. Australasia has taken Batavia. Philippines and Interlindia have not reacted yet. They're not guarding the port, though. This is it's a French unit under control of the Australasian Confederation. So it does look like the others are expeditionarying troops to the Australasians so that they can do some actions over here. Meanwhile, the Philippines are actually losing Papua. So this is a bit of a counterattack. Remember, at one point they almost... Well, Fort Moresby came under attack, but they never lost it. Now this is the counterattack. So there is action going on in the East Indies. Southeast Asia. I was going to say, why are you pinging to defend this spot? I think he's saying, you have too many troops here, please move some. Yeah, especially as you're not guarding that. That's a good point. India's leaving a few gaps here. Do it, please add them. Yes. Which nations are being played? If someone will please do exclamation mark players, then that will tell you. And Dominic Imo, thank you very much for the drink tea. I shall indeed drink some tea and I shall enjoy it, what's more. I'm actually surprised that AI Interlindia is not responding to this flagrant disregard of their territories. Unless their units are expeditionaried out. I think they are. Yeah, Japan's expeditionaried the entire Interlindian army and has them not guarding Batavia. So the AI is like, I want to defend myself, and Japan's like, no. Not allowed. They are at least guarding Surabaya, though that's the Philippines, not Japan. Meanwhile, the Japanese Navy is over here, standing impotently by as Australasia takes out New Guinea. Meanwhile, 2 Sicilies, AI nations continue bravely to try and take Sicily back for them. Thus far without any real effect. Germany, despite the fact that they broke France's cipher, has not attacked them. Huzzah! I don't get what's going on here. Germany could so easily destroy them. Oh, meanwhile, bit of a Ukrainian pocket being formed here. We do have Russian heavy tanks pushing through, forming a bit of a salient. Ukraine valiantly trying to fight back, but taking a huge number of casualties. I'm a little bit bemused by the fact that Ukraine is doing these counterattacks. I don't understand why. If you're going to give up that much territory, why are you counterattacking? Why did you give it up in the first place? Defending is so much easier than attacking. But they are losing an extraordinary number of units against these Russians. Look at the combat strength of these guys. What are the Russian infantry like? Russia going with just full infantry with AA support. I mean, AA is going to increase their soft attack a bit. And then the Ukrainians, are they 10 combat width? Nope. And they're identical templates. So I'm surprised that they're losing so heavily. They even have air superiority. And they're pushing back here as well. Don't get their strategy. I just don't get it. And they're without a field marshal again. And that's not the first time we've seen that from the Ukraine either. Oof, that's a pocket. Oh no, these are paras. This is a para drop behind Russian lines. They're trying to take the Cork. They're trying to take the oil fields. They're trying to deny Russia oil. Is this going to work? I have my doubts. It might, actually. Yeah. That's actually having a really big impact. Interesting. Huh. Who was the co-pro's air controller? It was Japan, wasn't it? Japan's probably siphoning all of the oil away because they control Inter-India. Huzzah! None of their oil deliveries get into Russia. It's 100% blockaded. Because of this. And they've still not blocked it away. These are the reasons why navies are important. It's not simply an idle thing because of my interest in fleets and their strategic use of fleets. They have a very real bearing in this game, and we are seeing that in this game. Because that Cape blockade is kind of easy to get around. Just go around Argentina. Does Germany have bases around Argentina? Actually, yes. Yeah, they could easily just move back. So how would... Alright, so let's think about this from the Co-Prosperity Sphere's perspective. How would we counter this? Well, it's got to be, like somebody in chat was saying earlier, you've got to take the German bases in the islands and then turn that into a naval base so you can start sending destroyers here. These are tier 1 submarines. They have not invested heavily in those submarines. You've just got to get yourself a naval base out here. And they've proven that they can do a naval invasion because they took Ceylon. They've proven that Germany doesn't care about defending their colonial possessions because there's no garrisons in Madagascar. Take Madagascar. That's a naval base. You can then position destroyers to then counter the submarines. Is that why the Ukraine is attacking, to wear down oil reserves? Yeah, possibly. But it's only really Russia that it's affecting. I don't get why they did this at all. I get why they did this. That's completely sane. Especially if they're able to fly in supply. I wonder if they are. Sweden. No, no air supply. See, this to me would be an excellent opportunity to use air transports to fly in supplies to those paratroopers. And you can basically hold on to Baku indefinitely. Because you're denying them the tanks. That's a lot of oil that you're controlling right now. Oh, disconnect. Abda covered all the fleets in the Indonesian area, and that was originally under Dutch command and then later British. Yep. It wasn't Helfrich, it was the other guy. Doorman? I think it was Karel Doorman who was in command of that. One of the reasons I knew about that. Polish destroyers and 3 submarines sailed for the UK. Yep. exactly. And there were some surprising nationalities in the convoy protection. I'm trying to think like what some of the most surprising were. Canadian, obviously. Australian was. British. American. Then I think it was like Saudi Arabian and Egyptian convoys. Indian convoys. Okay, anyway, we are back in. Somebody told me to take a look at Mexico. Let's take a look at Mexico. So we've got the Americans surrounding some Mexican units. Mexico is getting beasted. I mean, it's America versus Mexico. That's not exactly surprising. And it doesn't look like Mexico's had any support from anyone. I don't think they're even in a faction. No. Independent. And because everyone's at war, nobody can send volunteers. And then they're also attacking down here in Central America. These are... Central American units under American Expeditionary, so the Americans can command this. And Colombia? Whose side's Colombia on? Colombia's still neutral. Oh! Now here's the thing. Bulgaria is actually pushing out into the mountains. We've got the Austrian tanks leading the way, trying to unite up with the paratroopers. And the paratroopers are currently still holding really, really strong. There's actually a bit of disarray down here on the part of the Russians, although they... Oh no, it's only 6% attrition. That's actually a lot less attrition than I thought. And if they take Ganja... I mean, they do have some reinforcement units coming in. So Ganja, I think, is going to be pretty difficult to take. I'd like to see some of these Austrian tanks maybe taking Shusha and opening up a second line here. Maybe even moving this tank here so that they can attack into there. They are being pinned by Russia. Oh, no, they can move again. They can move again. They can move again. Go, Austria, Austria, Austria. Austria! Oh, you're losing an opportunity here. Oh, that would have been amazing. Yeah, that opportunity's gone. And now they're being pinned by the Russians again. I mean, I get it. Austria's got a lot of things going on at the moment. But that's a shame. They could definitely have cut off Georgia and Azerbaijan there. And linked up with the Baku oil fields and then basically permanently denied them. There goes Mexico and also Central America. So America takes more territory down here. As does Germany. Apparently. Though they didn't take anything. Norwegian, Dutch, Belgium, Greek. I think it was Greece, actually, that I was thinking of. Yeah, it was totally Greek, which is why I heard about it, because Greece was mentioned in World War II series. That's what it was. It was Greece. Thank you. Carol, totally awesome doorman. Yep. Currently playing Russia and E4, massive coalition in the world. Current deaths on each side are over 2 million. Yeah, late game wars can get that way. Do my eyes deceive me? Is that an offensive line in France? Maybe. We'll need to look. Alright, so let's take a look. France. No front lines from the Germans. No front lines from the French. Oh no, we have a front line down here, though it is just an army front line. An absolutely nasty 41 division out of the 24, meaning that they're suffering a 70% penalty to their command. Meanwhile, Bulgaria seemingly stopped their attacks. Siam has arrived. Oh, is that China? China has arrived to bolster the fortifications, and it looks now like the paratroopers are going to get divided up and destroyed. Such a huge opportunity lost, because if they'd taken Ganja, they would have resupplied those Ukrainian paratroopers, and I don't think they'd be falling now. Because they've proven to be surprisingly resilient, and that is in the mountains. That is really difficult for them to attack. Oh, Austria, you were caught snoozing. So disappointing. But I get it, there's a lot going on, especially if you're Austria, because you do seem to be absolutely frickin' everywhere. Though they seem to have lost a couple of heavies. Must have been a cutoff somewhere. Oh no, this is Bulgaria. Wrong nation! Although they also have heavy units, they're microing. Austria, 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 where are your heavies? There they are. Yeah, he's still got them. And now the Russian counterattacks are coming in. Missed opportunity. Disappointed! Meanwhile, Russian offensives into Sweden have begun. Sweden still building their defences. Oh no, they've got level 5 fortifications. Level 4s and 5s. Okay, so they are holding this line, and I think it is going to be very difficult for Russia to push through, because these are forts in forest, and tanks really suck in forests. And it is mostly heavy tanks which are doing the pushing. So I would say that Sweden is going to be pretty well entrenched at this point, and is going to be able to get on with the important job of sending planes to shoot people down. Pew pew. If I'm not mistaken, Brazil helped with convoy protection. Yeah, I think that a lot of the Allied powers did. Is Austria creative or crazy? I think the future will only let us know. Yeah, the fact that Austria and Ukraine seem to be doing such a good job pairing up, I'm loving that. It is so good. It's kind of like Spain and Italy last week. They were doing a really good job. And that was the current China player and the... Who was Italy? Mazdo. It was China and Siam. And we have seen Siam pulling a couple of stops out and doing some cool stuff. But nothing remarkable for a while. Okay, America. We're seeing the Americanos arriving in Indonesia. And it's not actually the Americans, it is the Australasians and the French. Currently under the command of Australasia, though these must be... I don't know why America got this. Unless they gave it to America. Oh, what am I saying? America did everything. America always does everything. America. Oh, we have some naval engagements going up here. Who dat? Those would be Ukrainian and German submarines just blockading the Russians, although some British destroyers are here. But Russia's got to be trying to import a lot of stuff, and they are getting eradicated. They do not have enough convoys for this, because they've all been sunk. They're down to 145. And only a fraction of the equipment that they're trying to import is arriving, which is going to be especially problematic for fuel. But the one I really want to see blockaded is Japan, which right now is not being hit that way. They're losing some, but not nearly as much as they could be. Have the Entente turned around at all with their naval game? USA has a big fleet, but they're not doing anything with it. And then they have lots of tier 3 subs which aren't even being used. They're just sitting in the reserve. 17 of them. And a new tier 3 battleship as well, called Steroids. There's probably a good thing that the steroids aren't being used, because I think that would just be unfair. No juicing, bro. Then Canada was the other one we need to look at. We have a Canadian fleet in port. We have another Canadian fleet. Submarines, tier 3s again, just the import. And the main Canadian Navy is convoy escorting with a crazy number of capital ships at a crazy cost in fuel. Like, this fleet at the moment 6.4 thousand fuel a day being spent on having this many battleships and battle cruisers at sea. Convoy escort. There's no reason for it. Just use destroyers, and if you absolutely have to, like cruisers. And if you're particularly worried, add in a couple of heavy cruisers. That's all you need, though. Battle cruisers and battleships and escort duty is overkill. Especially that number. And in fact is outright dangerous, because when they're on escort duty, they are spread out. Not as much as if they're patrolling and doing recon, but they are still spread out. So if the Japanese strike fleet, for example, decided to go, opportunity, then Britain would lose again. Meanwhile, India has managed to secure Colombo. Japan caught kind of snoozing. And it does look like Ceylon is going to be returned to them. Meanwhile, France actually doing a bit of a breakthrough. Okay, France attacking into Belgium. I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you. But Germany has actually given up a bit of territory. They have stopped them at Charleroi once again. But it does look like the French heavies have spent a bit of time building up, getting their numbers up again. And they are once again on the offensive. They are attacking various different positions. We do have the Austrian heavies in position once again. I wonder if they've changed up their templates at all. No. No, they haven't. Has Austria? I'm wondering if they're going for more tank destroyers or anything, so they could get a little bit more assistance in killing enemy tank units. No. So what's your piercing? Your piercing's 116, your armor's 102. Though that might be with losses. It's actually better to look at these templates. So your heavy tanks have a armor of 107 and a piercing 115. So you can pierce up to 115 armor. Whereas the French heavies is these guys with an armor of 110. So yes, they can pierce that armor. And France has actually upped the piercing to 126, which can also pierce Austria's armor. So these two heavy units are actually pretty evenly matched and fighting against each other. Who is the best naval player in this game? Two Sicilies. And we do see... no, those are heavy tanks. With infantry support. We do have a German cutoff here in Rheims, or just south of Rheims, which is going to cut those guys off. I'm a little bit nervous about the Austrians attacking into, say, here, and cutting off, like a counter cut-off, as we've seen them do before. Although, no, this is a full cut-off now, so they would have additional sources of supply. We now have the French heavy tanks moving on Verdun. So suddenly we have just an explosion of activity by the French, who have clearly been building up, building up, building up, building up, and then boom. And they are getting territory. The Austrians actually being forced back, and boom, Rheims has fallen. With it a fairly hefty cut-off of the French forces. Now, I wonder what's happened to Italy in all of this. Like, what's the Italy player doing? I'm curious about that, actually. Are they allowed to play on? I don't even know how to switch to their view. Wait, so... oh, for Venezuela. I saw the Ven, I was like, Venice? Venice went third international? Huh? No, they didn't. Okay, so the German human waves are now counterattacking against the tanks, though they are up against 1,000 defense, and they are crossing rivers to try and do it. So I don't know whether Walter Model will be that effective, though he is coming in with a lot of air power. So I think that this isn't so much the infantry doing the damage, it's the CAS. So Sweden is doing their part here. And we are seeing the French tanks being thrown back by the Austrians. I want to take a look at the air situation here because it is not going to be good. Oof, no. 3,000 aircraft on the 3rd International's part, 4,500 for the Reichspakt, but more importantly, they're also starting to really mix in a lot of CAS, and it's going to be the CAS that are just draining the combat strength from their opponents. I mean, the air superiority is already going to dampen their ability to attack, though the heavy tanks do have AA, as we've seen. But it's going to be the CAS that's really doing the damage now, and there are quite a few of them around. Although these are being shot down. Okay, so there are some on anti-air interception duties. They're doing damage. And it's more actual direct damage, which is going to be a problem against the heavy tanks, because they'll be killing tanks. News at 11. France is invading Belgium. Yeah. Like, the naval control expressed by the Union of Britain's been fairly decent. I'd like to see, like, some naval invasions or something being attempted. Like, more than just, I'm going to attack Belgium. I'm going to attack Belgium again. And, yep, I'm going to attack Belgium. And you know what? Guys, I've got a brand new, cunning plan. It's going to be great. What we need to do... Oh, man, this is just... We should attack Belgium. Why are they on solo organization? What's going on here? Are they training? They are. It's not for the army experience. Huh. I wonder if that was on purpose. Oh no, they've just stopped. I think that might have been a misclick. Meanwhile, over here, we do have German units trying to counterattack against the French infantry and the French militia, supporting the Austrian heavy tanks. The French heavy tanks have come to a stop for the moment, and this still, remember, is going to be under green air for the Reichspakt. So the counterattacks here are in their favour. So I'm really unsure as to why exactly they stopped attacking for so long, because that has allowed France to regain strength. The initiative was fully with the Reichspakt, and they kind of stopped. Just stopped. Meanwhile, Ukraine is attacking again into land which they totally controlled anyway, until they decided that they didn't. And Russia is punishing them for it. That's another stack wipe. That's not going to be a stack wipe. They'll manage to escape. And then the German forces holding this little salient beyond the river. I don't know exactly why they're doing this. Maybe so that they can still control some repair for infrastructure here? Or maybe they just fancy their chances in an urban setting. Like, these are forests, but then so are these. And so is a lot of the frontier. Yes, but that's what's so clever. They won't expect us to do it again. Yeah, great Blackadder. How did you know that, Blackadder? That was classified information. I may or may not have been quoting Blackadder when I was saying that. Just thinking about naval control is if one country just built civilian factories and dockyards, no militaries, use their militaries for planes that go lend-lease to the air controller while all other countries just use their dockyards and convoys, I suspect you'd end up with a great navy, but you'd still want to transfer the starting fleets. Yeah, I mean, there definitely could be the potential for transfers like that. Like, obviously the mechanics exist already, because you have expeditionary transfers and you have lend-lease of equipment. Has the Internationale taken back ground? Yes, they've regained Reims, although they are losing it again. And could again be cut off. No, these tanks don't have enough in them, and France is immediately pushing them again. Overextended a little.